The BRZ is a Subaru like no other before it, produced as part of a joint project with Toyota to breathe new life into an affordable rear-wheel drive coupe market that was once so vibrant. This car doesn't need to be concussively quick, but the real joy in driving it comes through the tactility of its controls and the purity of its handling. An experience then to be savoured. Subaru has a performance heritage, but not in sports cars. The Fuji Heavy Industries brand earned its stripes in the forests of the World Rally Championship, where its renowned four-wheel drive technology brought victories for legends of the sport like Richard Burns and Colin McRae. These were founded on engineering that made full use of things like four-wheel drive and turbocharging, technology this Japanese brand has promoted to performance people for so many years. But both elements missing from the Subaru sports car we're going to look at here, a model we're told that offers a purer approach to performance. This one, the BRZ. A change in philosophy then? Perhaps, or it could simply be that the idea behind this car is not all Subaru's own. It was developed as part of a joint project with Toyota, who wanted to return to the affordable sports car market but didn't have the production or development capacity for it. Subaru provided both, creating what they see as a sports car in the classic sense. Rear-wheel drive with a front-engine layout, a low centre of gravity and a high-revving engine. Having perfected the recipe, Toyota supplied the exterior design and production began at a purpose-built plant, not only of this BRZ but also of its near-identical Toyota counterpart, the GT86. That car has a much higher market profile, but the word on the street is that this one might just represent a better real-world choice. Either way, fast fireworks seem guaranteed. Let's put it to the test. Now, apparently the BRZ's name tells you everything you need to know about this car. B stands for boxer engine, R for rear-wheel drive, and Z for Zenith, the ultimate in affordable thrills. Is that what this is? From an early glance at the stats, you might begin to wonder. After all, there's nothing especially startling here. The 2-litre flat-4 engine developing 197 brake horsepower and 205 newton-meters of torque. That's enough to get you from rest to 60 in 7.6 seconds on the way to a top speed of 143 miles an hour. Plenty of comparably priced hot hatches can match or beat that, but none can deliver the driving experience that's on offer from this Subaru. It's a normally aspirated front-engined rear-wheel drive coupe. Let's start with that. For the enthusiastic driver, the recipe doesn't get much purer. Plumb in a boxer engine that helps it to a centre of gravity lower than a Ferrari 458. Add a proper mechanical limited slip differential, and also offer a slick shifting 6-speed manual gearbox with perfectly spaced aluminium plated pedals in the footwell, and you'd have what most would agree is a very good start. Even from this point it would have been quite possible to get things wrong, but Subaru didn't. On the contrary, this BRZ is so right in so many ways that it's almost as if the hand of Porsche has worked upon it. There's a simplicity to its controls, a delicacy and tactility to the steering and the pedals that offers the keen drivers so much. And you're going to need to be a really keen driver to get the most from this car. The gruffly engine note from startup sounds suitably Subaru, and true to form, you've really got to work this boxer unit to get the most of its performance, for not a lot happens below 4,000 RPM. Even the oral experience is a bit disappointing, which means that if you do nothing more than just take this car for a quick test drive around the block, you won't really feel very fast at all, and you'll get out wondering what all the fuss was about. Persevere. Get into the upper reaches of the rev range and things begin to change. Not only does the torque start to make itself felt, but a sound generator cuts in to lift the engine roar so much that you're tempted to turn down the stereo to hear it. And though there's not quite enough grunt to power slide about as you would be able to do in, say, a more pokey coupe, say a Nissan 370Z, the intentional decision to use a set of skinny tyres means that if you deactivate the 3-stage stability control system, or even put it on its sport setting, it's an interim setting, then the back end is never far from breaking traction. And once you get used to that feeling, it means that every clear corner, every deserted roundabout is a blank canvas, an opportunity to prove your skills, especially if it happens to be a little damp. This car, you see, instills such confidence. Arguably the best electric power steering system in the world, always keeps you in touch with what the front wheels are doing and the grip that you have available. And probably the best 6-speed manual gearbox anywhere, encourages you to snick up and down the box just for the fun of it. Please don't spoil things by specifying the 6-speed paddle shift automatic. A mechanical limited slip diff, just like BMW fits to its M cars, fires you from bend to bend without unwanted mid-corner wheel spin. And should you take things just a little too far, there's always the VSA stability control system to haul you back in. Brilliant. For me, there's something just that little bit more appealing about the looks of this BRZ in comparison to its Toyota GT86 stablemate. And I can't quite work out why, for apart from a slightly different front grille, the aesthetics of the two cars are exactly the same. Perhaps it's just that I see Subaru as a slightly cooler brand. Whichever of the two you choose, the look is equally dynamic, with short front and rear overhangs, bolstered wheel arches, and a muscular lean forward stance that leaves drivers in no doubt of this car's low centre of gravity. It's all part of a purpose-driven mission, further emphasised by the Hawkeye-style headlamps, the neat rear spoiler, and the distinctive 17-inch alloy wheels that are pushed into all four corners of the car to improve the handling balance. Even more important, though, is the stuff you can't see. One of the fundamentals in the design of this BRZ was to keep weight down, and thanks to fastidious attention to engineering detail, this car tips the scales at just 1,220 kilograms. That's less than something like a tiny Renault Sport Clio 200 hatch. Of course, there are reasons for this, and one of them is that heavyweight, high-quality soft-touch plastics are mostly notable by their absence once you step inside. So don't jump into the cabin of one of these straight from a Volkswagen Scirocco or an Audi TT and expect to be impressed. For the same reason, noise insulation has rather been skimped on too, something you may not thank the designers for on a long motorway journey. But then, this isn't a car you perambulate about in, feeling superior about your slush-moulded dash top. And for me, what's right about this cabin far outweighs any perceived lack of quality. For a start, the ergonomics are well-nigh perfect. Everything ideally placed and falling instantly to hand. There are these beautiful 6-way adjustable sports seats and knee-height padded panels on the door and on the side of the centre console to keep you comfortable during hard cornering. The steering wheel is just the right size, untroubled by multifunction buttons that might distract you from power sliding pleasure. And through it, you view a large digital display complementing the clear analogue rev and speedo dials. This really is a cabin where driver distractions have been kept to an absolute minimum. The designers even developing a special low-gloss finish for the top of the dashboard to reduce glare onto the windscreen. Behind you, this being a 2+2, there are a pair of tiny seats of the kind that motoring journalists without kids tend to moan about, which I find quite useful, if only to throw a jacket onto. And if you do need to sit someone back here for a short period, then they'll be a lot more comfortable than they would be in a comparable Peugeot RCZ or Audi TT. Most of the time, though, you'll have them folded flat to increase luggage capacity. After all, the standard boot at 243 litres is fairly compact, but extending it by pushing forward the rear bench frees up a total of 1,270 litres of total fresh air. And that's enough for, say, a trolley jack and 4 race-ready wheels and tyres, which would be ideal, of course, for a track day. You've even got a bit more space under the boot floor if, as I would prefer not to, you do without a full, proper spare wheel. Now, value can be a tough issue for potential buyers to agree upon. On one hand, with this BRZ, you've got a car that can't hold a candle to a Kia Ceed when it comes to creature comforts and technology. But on the other, you've an enthusiast tool that nothing else in this sector, bar this Subaru's Toyota GT86 sister car, can match. To find another sports coupe that can give you such rich feedback and flow so beautifully through the bends, you'd have to turn to the kind of Porsche Cayman that the Japanese engineers apparently used as the development benchmark, at nearly double the price. With this kind of perspective, suddenly that asking price doesn't seem at all optimistic. Though a little more than would be required to buy a comparable Peugeot RCZ THP 200, it's certainly no more than would be needed to own less rewarding coupes with similar performance. Cars like Volkswagen's Scirocco GT 2-litre TSI or the BMW 120i M Coupe. And it's about a couple of £1,000 less than you'd need for a comparable Audi TT 2-litre TFSI. You also get plenty of equipment included in the deal, most of what you want in actual fact, so check off features like these lovely silver and black trimmed 17-inch alloy wheels, auto headlamps with pop-up washers, front fog lights, power folding mirrors, the torque sensing limited slip differential, a 6-speaker CD stereo with USB compatibility and an aux in point, dual zone climate control, leather trim for the steering wheel and gear knob, aluminium pedals, cruise control and hill start assist to stop you drifting backwards on uphill junctions. This top SE Lux model also has lovely heated leather and Alcantara trim seats. Safety kit includes front, side, curtain and knee airbags, as well as anti-whiplash head restraints, Isofix child seat fastenings, a retractor mechanism for the brake pedal, a collapsible steering column and, should the worst happen, a pedestrian-friendly bonnet. Now, to try and make sure that you'll never have to use all of this stuff, there's an updated version of Subaru's VDC Vehicle Dynamics Control System that constantly monitors steering angle, engine speed, selected gear and braking conditions to make sure that the appropriate torque always goes to the appropriate wheel to optimise traction without hindering the car's drivability. Of course, you get anti-lock brakes as well, with electronic brake force distribution and a brake assist system for emergency stops. The light weight doesn't only help performance, it also of course makes a big difference to your running costs. Subaru quotes a combined cycle fuel figure of 36.2 miles to the gallon. A reading that at first glance is a little behind obvious coupe segment rivals. But virtually all of these are turbocharged, a configuration that tends towards thirstier figures in real-world motoring. This BRZ, in contrast, should return at least 30 miles to the gallon on a regular basis, even if you enjoy yourself in it. And that means you should get a decent operating range from the 50-litre fuel tank. You can't really ask much more than that of a car of this kind. The CO2 return isn't quite as impressive at 181 grams per kilometre for the manual model. If BMW can make a 270 brake horsepower 3 Series coupe emit less, then Subaru should be doing rather better on this score. It's worth pointing out though that, rather curiously, the 6-speed automatic BRZ does much better on this score, putting out 164 grams per kilometre. All of these figures, of course, are identical to those put out by this model's design stablemate, the Toyota GT86. Like that car, this one gets a very comprehensive 5-year warranty for total peace of mind. What else? Insurance? Well, that ranges between groups 30 and 31. Let's be clear about this. The Subaru BRZ is a very special car. Better indeed than any true World Rally Blue Subaru optimist could hope to expect. It has a beautiful simplicity that speaks of paring back to the essence of driving purity, including just enough of what you need and nothing that you don't. Of course, the automotive Philistine will simply look at this car as something that'll be out-dragged by a hot Clio while costing a good deal more. They may even go on to note that it runs on the same skinny tyres as a Toyota Prius, before concluding that this model is all hype and no substance. But nothing could be further from the truth. Like its Toyota GT86 design stablemate, the BRZ is a hero car for our times, one that rewards the properly talented driver without making the less proficient feel clumsy or unworthy. Of course, you've to pay for your pleasures. The cabin could feel more luxurious, the engine could be cleaner and more refined, and the whole package has to be thrashed before it'll give of its best. But correcting these things would add weight and dilute the very essence of this car. No, I'll take it just as it is. BRZ. Boxer engine, rear-wheel drive, and the zenith of sports car performance. The name sums it up perfectly.